Okay, I'm going to wager that we're live and ready to rock here. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you all. Appreciate you joining me here on Wednesday, the 31st of March, episode 30. Can't believe we're up to episode 30 already. Wow, it seems like it was just a few days ago that it was episode 29, and here we are already at episode 30. It's amazing. Hello, John Ferraro. We'll be talking later, my friend. Um, I'm excited to have my dear old friend Jerry Marotta with me today. Um, and as everyone knows, he is my favorite Marotta brother. Um, his brother plays the drums as well, but we're probably not going to talk about him today. We're going to talk about Jerry and Jerry's storied career. A couple of things I just want to mention. Uh, I did mention that it's episode 30. I wanted to give you a quick YouTube update. I'm at 599 subscribers. I haven't hit that 600 mark yet. I think I hit 599 yesterday or the day before. And my guess is that's probably as many subscribers as I'm going to get because as I've said before, I've read that there aren't that many people on YouTube. So the fact that I have almost 600 is kind of blows my mind. So if it ends up being 599, that's cool. That's a good number. So everybody that's subscribed already, I thank you for that. If you know anybody else who's on YouTube that hasn't subscribed and you want to let them know, I'd appreciate it. Um, this Friday, April 2nd, my guest will be Mickey Curry. I had originally scheduled this for Saturday, but I've changed it to Friday, this Friday, 2 days from now, at 1 p.m. Eastern time. My very good friend, Mickey Curry. That is going to be a lot of fun. And I was just thinking that with Andy Newmark, by the way, thanks to everyone who tuned in on Saturday for Andy Newmark, or sorry, Sunday. All my days are off. Who tuned in for Andy on Sunday? Thank you. And between Andy and Jerry and Mickey, we've kind of got the New York studio scene pretty well cornered with those three guys. So there's a lot of territory to cover there. Uh, there's another guy that recorded a lot in New York, Steve something. Can't think of his last name, but those guys have had a very active and productive studio, have had active, productive studio careers. So we'll get some great stories from Jerry today, and I'm sure from Mickey on Friday. I want to mention I started reading this book just a couple of days ago. Uh, Life, Liberty, sorry, Life Billy. That's the hook. Life Billy and the Pursuit of Happiness. It's Liberty DeVito's uh, autobiography, and I'm about 3 chapters in. It's fantastic. Liberty's going to be my guest on the 10th of April, so a week from this Saturday, and I can't wait. I'm going to hopefully be done with the book by then. I should be. Um, it's great, like right out of the gate. It's an awesome read if you haven't read this. And from what I understand now from Rob Wallace and Hudson, that it's available now as an audiobook with Liberty narrating. So that's pretty cool too. But the book, it's a it's a fascinating read right out of the gate. I mean, you just grab by it. So I've always been a big fan of Liberty's drumming and of Billy Joel, and already just getting some of the inside to a lot of this stuff is pretty fascinating. So highly recommend this book, and definitely tune in on April 10th when I have Liberty on the show. Um, I do want to just take a moment personally to thank everybody for reaching out. It's been definitely a rough road, and we're kind of seeing some light on the other side now. And so thanks to everybody. I really appreciate all your kind messages, text messages, and comments, and your thoughts and prayers and everything. Um, I really do appreciate it, and I I I, I don't want to dwell on that right now because I want to keep this fun and upbeat and positive the way we always do these shows. So, but I of course didn't want to. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge all the wonderful things that everybody has said. So thanks everybody. I appreciate it. It's it's a blessing. And now we're on to some, some better days ahead, I guess you could say. All right. So let me just see if I can see any comments I need to address at the moment. I don't think so. Just a lot of hellos. Hello, everybody. Jerry Marotta, I'm very excited to have him here. Fabulous, fabulous drummer with a really tremendous career, very storied, legendary career. I mean, another one of these guys that started playing, recording huge records when he was basically a teenager and has had just an unbelievable career all the way along. So it's going to be great to have him here. And as usual, I've got no real agenda. We're just going to sort of go with it and see how it all goes. So with that, without any further ado, I did want to mention one more thing. If my hair looks a little weird today, my wife had me try a new shampoo, and I'm not sure I like it. It made my hair very puffy. So I apologize. Next time you see me on Friday, I'm going to use my usual stuff, and it won't be so. I feel like it's 1975 again, So anyway, I'm going to. I don't know if Jerry's watching this, but without further ado, I'm going to bring on my good friend Jerry Marotta. So please give Jerry a big Jerry Marotta style hand. And there he is.
Look who dropped by.
Yeah, look who dropped by. Hi, Jerry.
John Christopher. As
Jerome?
we live and breathe, where is my making it bigger button? There it is. Ah, there you are.
Better?
How are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I couldn't be better. I'm
great.
I'm very, 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 very good. I'm going to get my second shot on Friday.
Fantastic.
And that's good. And yeah, I'm good, man. You're looking good.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I got my one and only Johnson & Johnson a week ago Monday. So I just lucked out, and I'm done. So
good for you.
Yeah, well, I'll be vaccinated this summer on the vineyard.
Yeah, let's hope so. I called Charlene at the PA club.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago just to check in and see. I sent an email out to everybody in the band. You know them all, and I'll give you one guess as to who's the one person that didn't respond. The one person that didn't respond was, I hope it's, I have a whole nother thing that says, a whole nother logo that's Marada broth. So it could be singular, plural. You just never do know.
I've often been mistaken for Marada Brothers. So if you need a guy, I always have drums on the island.
You know what? You were kind enough to let me sit in at one of your gigs on the vineyard. I think it's only right that you sit in with us.
All right. Well, thank you.
You would be doing a lot of it if you weren't lefty.
I know. It's a curse.
It makes it tough. You've had to deal with that, I'm guessing, all your life. Left-handed drummer. No, hard to get you to sit in for a song.
Yeah. It on the one hand, it kind of gives me a good excuse to not embarrass myself, but at the same time, sometimes I do want to sit in and I just go, forget it,
Yeah.
But right now, I just have to tell you on Facebook, when you said, guess who didn't respond? Jeremy Driesen said, Rick, ? And your sister Christine said, Rick?
Well, hey, Jeremy, and hi, Christine. Glad there's two people out there.
There's lots of people. You have lots of people.
I'm sorry. It's going to be, I hope it's a shameless, what do you call it? Promoting is allowed. Yeah. But Jeremy Driesen, who's also a drummer, our friend, a drummer.
Great guy. Yep.
Great guy, and he's a phenomenal photographer. His drumming is he's an awesome drummer, and he has sat in with us numerous times, but like he posts a lot of photographs on Instagram that I see, and you guys are a phenomenal photographer.
Great photographer.
Else.
I agree. And that's not even, I dare I say, not even really his profession, although you'd say semi-professional, but that's not how he earns a living, though he does earn a few bucks doing it. But I agree, he's a great photographer and a great drummer and a pretty good guy too.
Absolutely.
When you add it all up.
I just saw his wife on a commercial yesterday.
Yeah.
They're still running it. I think it's awesome. It's for like it's like one of those ancestry kind of things.
Yep.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Those Dreesens.
Those Dreesens are everywhere. Yeah. She's beautiful too. Yeah, we see that commercial too. And I think Kelly, she was the first one to notice it. She said, "Is that Jeremy's wife?" Because it said Jenny Nealon, I think, right? That's her maiden name or something.
I didn't see her name. I was too busy looking at how beautiful she is.
Yes.
Before I even knew what it was, I was like, that woman's beautiful. Then I'm like, wait a minute. Is that Jeremy's wife? Yes, of course it is. Anyway.
Pretty funny.
Anyways, hey, Jeremy. And, glad we got to mention him and all the things that he does super well.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I don't want to leave my sister out, by the way, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
My sister's awesome.
Your sister's really awesome.
She's been like a sister to me for, I don't know, 70 years or something, 69 years. But, she's great. And I've got some funny stories she probably wouldn't want me to tell. I'm gonna have to save those for a book if I ever did sit down long enough to write a book. I'll save the stories about my sister, but she's great. And also, I mean, I'm sorry, but I just want to say one other thing. You probably know this.
That's okay.
Oftentimes neglected, but we have a brother named Tommy.
Yes.
That's the third Marada brother, and he's our little brother. And he's also a musician, a bass player, and for whatever reason, he didn't. Whatever, I don't know what happened. There was Rick first, and then I followed in his footsteps, and for those early years, I did not have a name. I was Rick Marotta's little brother. I lived with Rick Marotta's little brother. And that's true, really is true. But I was a kid, and I was, I toughed it out. And then Tommy our little brother had like Rick and I think by the time I was doing anything, Rick and I pretty well, I think we pissed off just enough people in the music business that made it virtually impossible for Tommy to get any gig. It was.
Oh, that's funny.
And I'm sorry, me. I'm just going to say that very early on, my brother got me an audition to play with Diodato back when he had that big hit, like the 2001 Space Oddity. That huge hit back had to be like the mid 70s, maybe 73, 74. And I remember going in there, and I won't mention his name, but the bass player, I mean, the look on his face, he just grimaced big time. I don't think, my brother had played with them, and John Tropez was the guitar player.
Yeah.
And of course, John was great. And I talked to John last week, and we play we have this band that we play together in, about twice a year. It's about all everybody can muster up in energy. But it was just one of those things where I knew there was no chance for me, even if I wasn't so nervous that I probably didn't play very well. I think he tried to contain himself, the bass player, but I don't think he made it pretty clear that Rick was not one of his favorite people. I'm not going to mention his name. I actually remember his name. I won't mention his name, but
All right.
so
all
I
right.
understand that thing of having to follow in somebody else's footsteps. So
Yeah. Well, I have a similar situation in my family. I have an older brother and a younger brother. And I have my sister is the oldest of the four of us. So it's a little different where, because Rick is the oldest of all you guys, right? And then
yes,
Christine. Yeah. So, but a similar thing but my older brother and I are closer than you and Rick in age. We're 3 years apart, 3.5 years. And my younger brother's 7 years. But for when I got into junior high, when I was like in the seventh grade, my brother had just gone into high school.
yeah,
So I remember like all the gym teachers in school and all the teachers referred to me. My brother goes, you've met my brother Chris. He goes by the name
yeah,
Chris, and they'd call me Little Chris, or you're Chris's brother. Yeah. They didn't. I didn't have a first name for about 2 years
yeah,
in junior high.
of course.
Yeah. So it's the cross we bear, but it's
Yeah, Rick
but
was so much older that he's 8 years. He was
yeah,
long gone before I got into, I went through junior high and high school.
yeah, yeah.
Long.
But interestingly, though, you guys, even though you're like 8 years apart, because he started so late playing drums, did you start playing not long after Rick started playing? Is that like, was it almost the same time or a year or two later?
You mean just like when the drums came into the house?
Yeah,
No,
like
yeah. Well, I was
yeah,
10, and like you said, he was in his first year of college, maybe beyond first year of college,
yeah,
and so he convinced a friend of his who got drafted, went to Vietnam. This is the story I remember.
yeah,
Rick, I'm sure you're watching, Rick, so call in or type in. But I think he had a buddy who got drafted, and my brother kind of convinced him to let him kind of keep his drums.
yeah,
I'd like to think, in my mind, in the movie, the Marada Brothers movie, I see it like he did that in an effort to make sure that the guy came back.
yeah,
Like, like
yeah,
I have your drums, and if you
yeah.
want them back, you gotta, you
You
gotta,
gotta,
you gotta save your ass. You gotta survive Vietnam. You went to Vietnam, and
yeah,
you gotta come back and get your drums. And that's in my mind, I like to think of it like that. But anyway, they did come in to they came into the house, and we just started, started banging away, um, and I was like, I was just in my own 10-year-old way. I worshiped my older brother. I mean, he's, he
sure.
he was like my idol. I remember he had these desert boots. You know what desert boots are?
Oh yeah, sure,
And
yeah, yeah,
he cut with a razor blade. He made sandals out of them. Literally made
wow,
sandals. And I remember I was a little older than 10, but they were too big, but I was so into it that I like wore them to school one day. My brother's desert boots that he took a razor blade and cut, like really beautifully cut, like make it like sandals so they could breathe. And
really cool. Yeah,
I used to just, I just looked up to him so much, and I just started playing the drums, um, and being ADD, pretty severe ADD. Back then, there was no ADD, ADHD. It was like
yeah,
hyperactive.
yeah,
When I got behind the drums for the first time, it was like it was like Ritalin. It was like
wow,
it was like a drug. It was just I was so happy.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
got everything going, the legs, the arms, and so we just used to tag team, up in the attic, tag team. I'd listen to him, like practicing, and we had this little record player, with the speaker, old school, and
sure, yeah,
you were just Motown records, and I'd hear the record, and I'd hear him, playing along, and then he'd leave, and I'd go up and I'd put the record on, and I'd try to play along. So that was so much fun, and he never taught me a thing, by the way.
Right.
Of course, it was one of those things, I'm not going to teach you. You're going to have to learn it on your own, So,
Of course, yeah.
right. The Italian way. You want to play drums? Yeah, go ahead. Teach yourself like I did, like I'm doing. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, those were awesome times. And that's how I started playing.
I gotta tell you, Jerry, I've heard most of that story, but you filled in a lot of details. And as we've been speaking, Brady Spencer says, "Love your recording discography. I'm the current drummer for Orleans."
Awesome.
Yeah, so he's playing that song that you recorded, "Still the One," back in 1976.
Yeah.
76.
76.
76. So you were 20 years old.
Oh no, it was 76.
Or 19, 20?
Yeah, it was around. I always want to say I was younger, but I joined 75. I'm born in 56, so I had to be 19, 20, in that 1920, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well,
Hey, Brady, I want to be your sub, actually. I'd love to. It's funny, with everything I've done in my life, there was a moment where I started thinking about Orleans, and
yeah,
and it was like that. That was such an amazing time, amazing band, everything about those guys. That they were my favorite band on the planet.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't
my
realize.
friend in high school was a year ahead of me. She went to college at Ithaca College.
Yeah.
And the first time she came back, she had this album, and she said, "You got to hear this band. They play up around Ithaca all the time, and they're awesome." And it was the Orleans record. I don't know if it was the very first one, but it was the first one, the one they did down in Muscle Shoals. And I listened to that record. And by the way, it's nothing like the hits. Still the One, Dance With Me. It's like back then they were considered like the hit. They were like the Steely Dan, like I remember going to Max's Kansas City in New York, and it would be like my brother, Spinoza, probably Andy Newmark, musicians, Hugh McCrack, all of these A-level musicians in New York were hip to Orleans,
Yeah.
They were it was kind of more like Little Feat than anything,
Yep.
And so I saw them numerous times. So she gave me the record, and then she went back to college, and then she came back, I think around Christmas time, and dumped me. She dumped me, of course. And
sorry about that.
Sorry, but this is a little cut to a year later. I'm pulling into Ithaca in a tour bus with Orleans, which I'm in Orleans, and we're playing a concert at Ithaca College, like a big concert.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure.
It was like the ultimate payback.
Payback, yeah.
Which Lori Weinger, I'm sorry, I have nothing but fond memories of you, and I understand completely,
She had her chance though, Jerry. She had her chance.
She did have her chance, and
squandered it.
But it was just, I was literally blessed. Not that was a blessing, but just all along the way, I was just super blessed with one thing. By the way, Orleans was not the first touring recording band that I played with.
Oh,
again, thanks to my brother.
Yeah,
he did a record. Is it okay to just keep going like this?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
He did a record with a group called Arthur Hurley and Gottlieb.
Yes,
probably 1972, 73, 72, and they were on Columbia, and it was like Crosby, Stills, and Nash. That was like the thing. 3 guys. One guy played violin. The other guy wrote, acoustic guitar. The other guy played piano and bass. And they had like a top 40 single. it was great. And
Yeah.
they wanted my brother to tour with them. And he said, well, he wasn't going to go out on tour with the band like that. So he said, but my little brother, perfect for you guys. So I went, I met them. We played. They said, you're in. We love you. We're leaving in a week to go, on tour. So I was in summer school in the summer of 73, and I graduated high school a year early. Like I graduated a year early. And it was about a week before summer school was over. I was taking 2 classes, and I had to go to my teachers and ask them, appeal to them that I explained. And I said, can I have this opportunity? And they, both teachers, thank God, again, like very blessed. They said, Jerry, you're a great kid. We love you. We're not getting in your way. We know where you're going. We know what your path is. Take your final exams on the road with you. So I took my final exams on the road with me.
That's great, man.
And I went out and flew to Miami and opened for Richie Havens, who in 1973, after Woodstock, massive. So we played a highlight arena, and and that was my very first gig with them. And I was like, I don't know, I had like 16, 15 or 17, something like that. So, and again, my brother was instrumental. Obviously, it was all about him. And then it dovetailed into the Orleans gig, which also he was responsible for plugging me into. Although that was an audition where they auditioned a lot of drummers.
Yeah, I bet.
And I was fortunate for whatever reason I got that job. I don't know why. They won't have me back. Sorry, Brady. I have never asked them, but they don't want me back now. And that was a great band that had one of my favorite drummers on the planet still, which is Wells Kelly.
Yeah.
Who sadly died way, obviously. I mean, this was back a long time ago in the 80s. He was on tour, I think, with Meatloaf, and he died. But one of the most unusual, he was a huge influence on me, as well as my brother. Wells had a very strange style, like a backward style of playing. And anybody who wants to hear incredible drumming and an old school recording, and when I say old school, I mean almost modern again. That Orleans record that they did down in Muscle Shoals with Roger Hawkins and Barry Beckett, they produced the record. And it's a phenomenal record. Just every song is like a guitar riff, like Clean Up Woman kind of guitar riff that breaks into a badass groove, and everybody sang. When I joined the band, I started singing. So it was like 5 guys singing, playing their asses off. And I remember when I got the gig, my brother said to me, "You're gonna be a millionaire by the time you're 21. You're gonna be because they were just like on the precipice of like just jumping up to the you're going to be a millionaire by the time you're 21.
They were huge. And you guys were playing, like, by the time Still the One came out and you were on that record, if I'm not mistaken, you guys were playing like arenas, right? You were playing or like large.
Yeah, we were playing. They
theaters.
They had Dance With Me, which was a big hit.
Yeah.
And then we were playing, back then, it was a very different world. First of all, college gigs like crazy. I mean, and they would start out like in a Rathskeller. Every college had a bar, and it was called the Rathskeller. But then they had concert halls, and there was a committee at every college, that had to go out, and they were buyers. They were kids. They were students, and there was a thing called NACA, which was like a thing where artists would go and showcase all artists, records out, not records out, big, the Stones didn't do it, but and you play you have 8 minutes, you can play 2 songs, and they're all these college buyers around the country, and then you just book, you book, I think we booked like 35 gigs, something like that. So we were playing that. Then we were doing shows like co-billing with like Little Feat. And we did a tour. This was a little different, but we toured with Jackson Brown, and he had just put out that record, The Pretender.
Oh yeah.
So we did a long couple months tour with Jackson opening for him, and Valerie Carter was also on that. Was three bands, 3 acts. But we were playing, good, pretty big venues. And then we were playing places which you might remember. I always remember a place called the Channel Club.
Yep. Sure, in Boston.
I feel like it was out on a dock or something?
Yeah.
I just feel like it was on the water,
It was on the water, yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of an old school. Again, back then there were these mega clubs, that were like, they could hold like 800 people. I don't know about the Channel Club, but there were these clubs that held like 500, 600, 800 people. They pack them in. And
concert clubs. Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Awesome. They were awesome gigs. There was just so much fun to play, almost as much fun as playing the big shows,
Absolutely. Yeah. I know what you mean though, too. I mean, I used to go to those places and you're right. I mean, it was a club in terms of like, there was a bar where you could get drinks and all, but it really was like a major venue because it was like, it was a concert.
Bigger than, they were bigger than the Paradise was a club in Boston, but I don't think you could get that many people in the Paradise. I mean, it was like, they might have had tables or something. And I remember we did an unannounced Peter Gabriel gig at the Paradise. They would do that occasionally where a band, they wouldn't tell anybody, but, they wouldn't advertise it, but then people would pack the place. Those kinds of gigs were also always fun. Then there was all of that stuff there was so much fun, and it was very different, very different.
Yeah.
But Orleans was, it was like, I could have never done another gig. And if John Hall hadn't quit the band, who was really the leader, he started the band. If he hadn't quit the band, we stayed together. I would have never left. I certainly wouldn't have left to play with Peter Gabriel, which is what I did immediately after John quit Orleans. I mean, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who Genesis was. I was like, I mean, if they're not on Motown Stax or they're not from Philly, Memphis, blah, blah, blah. And if they're not black, I don't know who they are. I was a snob, I was an R&B black music snob. It was like, I mean, I know, no offense to anyone, but like when I would hear Cream and I hear like Ginger Baker, like guys like that, I would just be like, honestly, I mean, he's gone now and like nothing but love and respect. But when I listen to that stuff, for the most part, it just didn't have that thing that I grew up learning, which was just that pocket that, that you don't stray from it. You just play that, throw it down, you play, making records, session guy, you got to know how to do that, blah, blah, blah. Then of course, years later, and we'll talk about that moment in my life where I had an epiphany and everything turned around for me.
Yeah.
I was just listening to, I didn't know who any of those, English bands were.
Well, you can definitely hear when I hear you play, when I see you play every week, with the Marada brothers, and I know that's just a small piece of your drum legacy, but you can definitely hear your R&B, your Motown groovy influence. I mean, that's what I think of you as well. I mean, and although you've had you've made a tremendous impact with Peter Gabriel, and I just want to touch on Still the One.
Yeah, sure.
One more time. You probably, I'm guessing, had no idea that song would have the legs, the shelf life that it's had 40 5 years later, I'm guessing,
No,
right? I mean,
no idea. Not.
yeah. And is it a song now that you, and you said this, you just said at the beginning, you've kind of come back to thinking about it. Cause I remember talking to you about it at a NAMM show, probably 20 something years ago, when I found out that was you on that song, maybe more than that, 25. And I was telling you how much I loved what you played, and you were kind of like, yeah, whatever. But you weren't dismissing it, but I think the part you came up with in that song is so fucking awesome and memorable. I mean, the bass drum pattern, that, you know what I mean? It's so hard to play that song. If anybody tries to play it, they'll know what I'm talking about. To play it the right way, it's so hard.
I thank you. And there are people who have said you just don't know how to play a shuffle. You don't know how to play a shuffle. And there are people who have said, dude, that's like so awesome. That's so awesome. And
yeah,
let me tell you, one of the people I believe that told me that I don't know how to play a shuffle, and this is how she did it. This is when my brother was playing with Linda Ronstadt back in the early 80s. And we met, and we were all hanging out, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if my brother was like giving her shit or something. And then she turned to me, she said to me, can you play a shuffle? She was super cute and sweet. She said, hey, Gary, can you play a shuffle? And then she went, oh, yeah, you played on that song, Still the One. And that was the end. That was the end of the conversation. And it was kind of one of those backhanded compliments, like, what you do to a song, nobody can do, and I'm just sure she obviously, not that I was looking to unseat my brother and play with Ronstadt, but I just thought, I've always thought, I wonder what she meant by that. I mean, because I don't know. I know it's not, your traditional beat, shuffle beat. And in fact, I think on one of her big hits, Andrew Gold played drums.
Yeah, he played on You're No Good.
I don't know, one of her songs.
You're No Good, I think, is Andrew.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
but
he's a lefty.
Not a shuffle.
Was a lefty. No, he was not. It was not a shuffle.
I think there was one of those covers that she did.
Oh,
that
was Heat Wave.
It might have been Heat Wave. And when I listened to it, I'm going, that's your textbook shuffle beat. One and three, one and bass drum. I'm 2 and 4 with the snare, and blah blah blah. But honestly, I don't know. It's weird because, eventually when we get to Peter Gabriel, my whole approach to music got turned on its ear. Because that's the way Peter was. I mean, he was looking for unconventional, not conventional. But anyway, thanks for that compliment. And
you're welcome, Jeff.
I do get I get people who think who say to me, and I don't even mind that they say, I hope you've figured out how to play a shuffle since then, because you didn't know how to play a shuffle. And you're right. I guess I didn't.
This. I bet the song the song you're thinking of is "When Will I Be Loved." That's the song that Andrew that shuffle. That's
those ones where the drumming. It was just good. It was and there's a lot of records like that where it's the person playing is he's not Steve Gadd or Rick Marotta or Vinnie Cal. It's a guy who's like like a student of music.
Sure.
Those guys. And Andrew, of course, was a genius. Andrew Gold. And he could play everything. He might have even played everything on one of those records. So, I would never argue with that. I wouldn't change that at all. We're all about really the overall record. That's all I ever want to do is I want to make the record. I don't like the term "serve the song." Does it serve the song? I mean, you really do. I approach everything like that. I only have about 3 chops, maybe 4, and I'm not sure I can even do 2 of them anymore. So it's pretty narrowed down. And but it's just about the grooving and supporting the the actual song.
Well, exactly. And Brady Spencer says, anytime we're playing in your area, you're welcome to come sit in. We'd love to meet you in person.
Okay, well, I love that. I would
Yeah,
love,
and Dave
love work.
Wasikinen says, great listening to Jerry. Huge fan. Great that Jerry is talking about Wells Kelly. Yeah, legend in my opinion. And there's Joanne Cassidy. Have no fear. I'm here.
Oh, Joanne, thank you so much. So
Yeah,
much.
we love Joanne Cassidy.
We do. We do.
Best part of them. She's the best Marada brother, if you ask me.
Well,
There's
she
some,
she is in all, in all seriousness. I mean, she first of all, she's a world-class singer. And
world class.
I love Joanne, and it's been an honor, and we're very, very lucky to have her. Because when I had the idea to put this together, um, and I talked to John Zeman, who's the guitar player in the band, who lives on the island.
Yeah.
I said, I want to put this band together. I really need your help, but it's got to be all island people. I mean, you can't have people coming the ferry. Then it's not going to work. So
Yeah.
he helped me, and the singers. The only thing I mean, everybody had to be, had to be really good, and in Joanne's case, she's awesome. And I just said to him, when it comes down to the singer, I really just want to try to have it, and you'll relate to this, not be one of the people I know that are playing around the island 7 nights a week. They're not playing every night, so kind of want to try to make it a little bit special.
Yeah. Sure.
And
yeah.
and boy, did Joanne, she does the occasional gig, and but she's not out there playing night after night, at all of the places that people play around there, and she just, she has just been a joy, as a person, a friend.
Yeah.
She's super talented.
The whole
always
package.
thinking about ways to promote her. I don't know what, I feel it's almost stupid at this point, to try to like make people aware of her, of how good she is. And
Well,
the whole band is good.
Whole band. And I was just going to say, I think I'll give you an example of what you just said too, in my own small way. Those gigs that I've done with John Zeman that you're not able to do on the island, usually on a Thursday night after a Marada Brothers gig. John, I'll do a gig with John at MV Town. What's it called? The town restaurant.
Boathouse. Have you ever done the boathouse?
Or the Boathouse a few times. Yep. And I remember saying to Joanne, after a Marada Brothers gig, and if she's watching, I think she'll remember this at least a couple of times. But one time in particular, I said, I'm playing tomorrow night with John at MV Town. If you want to come, why don't you come out and sing a couple of songs? And she went like, nah, I don't think so. Like, no, but she has a family. She has kids.
Young girls.
Yeah, young. Yep. She has young girls. And I think she teaches
spin class at
a spin class. Yeah. Early in the morning. Yeah. Spin class. She keeps herself very fit. So I get it. It's like, yeah, she doesn't want to be like another night hanging out singing. I get it. It's
right. And I love Joanne. I've started what will eventually be a monthly or more live stream from Dreamland. And I put this band together, and I call it Rock City Road. And I got Joanne, the idea was I have a set rhythm section, and we were going to have guest singers come in, and then I sing. John Putnam, the guitar player, is a really great writer and singer. So we do that, and I thought we'd have guest people come and do a few songs, and then blah, 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 and try to make it easy for the guys so we're not learning 18 songs every 3 weeks. And we got Joanne on she came in and did the first one. I just wanted Joanne to do, and all the guys said afterwards, can we just have Joanne? Like, let's not bring in any other people. Let's just do it with Joanne. I mean, Joanne is, she's that good. She's that good. She's happy to sing a background vocal part. She'll do whatever. She's great in some, also in ways. Another thing I love about her is she's not wielding a tambourine on every song,
Yeah.
which I thank you, John, for, just occasionally picks up a shaker or a tambourine. But,
Yeah.
and, she's just, I couldn't think of a better, anybody I'd want to have. And also, Joanne, this is just a personal thing. I texted your dad about the 18th and coming, A, with you coming to visit, and B, this summer, if I have a place to stay.
Yeah.
2 summers ago, I stayed at Joanne's father's and at his house. We stayed there and it was great because he's like family, and
he's great.
And I'm hoping that I don't have to start looking around for a place, because what it can be like finding a place on Martha's Vineyard. The Marada brothers don't make enough money for me to even afford one night on Airbnb. I was looking at screened-in porches for $200 a night. People were Airbnb-ing. I'm not kidding you. They were Airbnb-ing screened-in porches.
Oh my God! At least it's
blah 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 for $200 a night.
Oh my! At least it's screened in.
Yes. So Joanne, could you just put in a good word for me and tell your dad he's got to make room for us somewhere?
Oh, that's too funny. Well, the last thing I'm gonna ask you about, and I promise we'll move on, but
yeah,
Still the One, you came up with that beat. Obviously, that wasn't something that a producer or John Hall or somebody or anybody in the band said,
no,
play this type of you came up with that groovy little groove.
Yeah. And I don't care. I don't take credit for much, I certainly don't. Well, you know me. I don't think
I know you don't.
Myself, I'm like, I was worried about coming on this, because I'm thinking, oh no. I mean, who's gonna watch that? I mean, nobody's gonna want to watch that.
A lot of people. Can I tell people what you said when I asked you to do this? When I texted you a couple of weeks ago about doing this, and you said, I wasn't sure if you knew that I played drums. You said something like, I was kind of getting a little, my feelings were hurt. I didn't know if you knew I played drums, but.
Oh, I know you knew, but it's true.
I know you're kidding. But
I was like, and then look, I have.
You're a humble man.
No, and I mean, and awesome. You always have awesome. You're really building this up, and you got awesome people like Myron Grombacher and
Greg Bissonette.
And Greg Bissonette, which I know his name. But were they on together?
Yeah.
Were they on the same thing? Yeah, it was great. I remember Myron when he was playing with Pat Benatar, rehearsing at SIR in New York. I think was where her first record came out.
Yeah.
And I was rehearsing with, I think, Hall and Oates. And I think I remember. Yeah. I love Myron. He's a great player and he's a great guy, and a very creative guy, because I think he made this thing, had this thing made where the cymbals were hanging, and they were rehearsing a lot. And I think in true Marada style, I remember one day Pat came out of the room, and they walked out or something, and I said to her, enough already. I mean, you guys sound awesome. Myron's killing it. Enough. You're done. You're ready. Stop. I don't think that was funny. She didn't think that was. I don't think she did.
Probably not.
But anyway, this is, and you had Andy Newmark on, who I've known. We go back till when I was 10. I mean, he was one of the guys that was coming over the house and walking through my bedroom to get up to the attic to where the drums were, and giving Rick pointers, drum lessons.
Right. Yeah.
Which was awesome. I mean, I remember Andy. I don't know. He must have been maybe 16 or 17, and he was younger than. He was young. He was a young guy. He wasn't quite as old as my brother, but
he talked a little bit about that the other day, Jerry. He talked a little bit about, both of you guys and Yeah, kind of like, and Rick tells that story a lot too, that Andy sort of gave him some pointers to get him started.
Right.
But Andy, being the humble guy that he is, will tell you that, in no time flat, Rick started to get the calls for gigs, and Andy will say, people were hiring Rick over him. I don't know if that's really true, but Rick just, his things just took off pretty quickly for him once he, started to figure things out, which I believe, which we know.
I don't think it was a matter of choosing Rick over Andy.
Yeah.
But you know what? I learned a lot about Andy. I read Jonathan Mover's cover story about Andy. It was a couple of 2 years ago or something.
I remember
read
it.
that
Yeah.
article. I mean, I learned a lot about Andy that I did not know, that didn't have anything to do with drumming.
Yeah.
And like, he got out of school early, I got out of school early. I mean, he was very candid about like psychological, struggling with blah blah blah. I don't want to say struggling, but
Yeah.
I just know this. Like me, very much like me, Andy did not. I don't feel like he wanted to be like the guy that was being called for every session in New York or wherever he was living. And I think in the article, he didn't really, that was not what he wanted to do. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to be that guy. And that's very much like me. I did not want to be that guy, So I was constantly, I always want to be in a band, And so I played with Peter Gabriel for 10 years. And that was like a band. I mean, that was, that was just like being in a band. And I chose that over being in New York. And so did Tony Levin. Tony he could have stayed in New York and just done sessions and still been doing them, but he had that same choice. And I was very, I really like, and Andy was like awesome about like, I have a drum kit in England, like one kit, blah, blah, blah. And then a guy in the shop down the road asked me if I would play on a couple of songs or something, like, you know what I mean? The whole thing was so brilliant to me, because it was just learning really about Andy Newmark and what makes him tick. And, he was very like, I don't know if he even said there was a point in life where he wasn't getting called by anybody, Just wasn't getting a lot of calls, and I can totally relate to that totally. So anyway, Andy, I don't know if you'll ever see this, and I've been meaning to contact him ever since then, like just to call him and have a conversation about the impact that article had on me.
Yeah.
And it inspired me in a lot of ways.
Do you have his? I can send you his number if you don't have it.
No, okay. We'll deal with that, but
he would love that.
There's a lot of things I keep meaning to do, and then years go by, and I'm like, wow, I haven't done that. I gotta get a hold of Andy. And Andy, I don't know if you mentioned it. My mother and Andy were like this. My mother loved Andy Newmark. That's what around the Marada household. Andrew Newmark. And my mother, and they were friends. She and he would communicate. They would write birthday cards to one another and messages. And my mother loved Andy. And we also knew Andy's brother, Richard. He was a kind of local, and he would come over to our house, and I think he liked my sister. And so he would come over and hang out, Richard, his brother. And my mother was very Italian, motherly to both of them,
Yeah, sure.
Have at least coffee or something, cookies or food, anything, sandwich, whatever you want, whether you want it or not. Here's a sandwich for you. So, and I appreciate that. My mother, and my parents both, but my mother especially, my mother really loved Andy big time.
Well, Andy actually talked about how he bought his '66 Impala from your dad.
Of course.
Yeah, he mentioned driving around when he heard Anticipation on the radio. He said, I remember driving through New York and like being in my 1966 Impala that I bought from Rick and Jerry's dad, Chris. and hearing that on the radio, and then he said it again in my '66 Impala that I bought from from their dad, and yeah, he was so proud of it. So
Yeah.
that's great. That's a great. And Harry McCarthy, by the way, is watching, and he some time back made a comment. It's no doubt a wisecrack. If it was Harry, we know
Harry, I
that.
speak to all the time.
Yeah.
I
Hi,
spoke,
Harry.
I spoke to him yesterday.
Maybe
Yeah,
the most handsome man on Facebook, Harry McCarthy.
course,
I
easily.
think.
I'll just say this: my brother and I both graduated from Chris Marada's used car college. That's
Yeah.
we both did time. We both did time at Chris Marada's used car college. That's the car lot my father had, and I helped my dad out there. Rick helped my dad out there, and there were a lot of. I run into people occasionally, even a couple of guys in England who were like graduated college or something, took the summer to drive around America, and they still. Alan Warner, I remember him and the two of them drove across country. They bought a Mustang, like a '67 Mustang, drove across country, drove back, and sold it for what they bought it for. Something my father sold it for them or something. They're like to this day, they're like, your father, we love your father.
Yeah.
He's got us that car. He sold us that car, and then he sold it for us. And it was a wonderful summer.
They got to drive it for free, other than the gas. I mean, what's better than that?
It was, this is back in the '60s. It was an awesome time. My dad was an awesome guy. And our parents were great. By the way, when my brother brought the drums into the house and they were in the attic, our mother was recovering from cancer. So to the degree where we had a hospital bed in the living room of the house.
Wow. Yeah.
And the nurse coming like every day, if I remember correctly. So thank God we were on the third floor and she was on the first floor. She was in her bedroom just below us, and she never ever said a word. She never said a word about, because when he stopped for practicing, I'd go practice. So it was nonstop.
Yeah.
Tag team drumming, and
that's funny.
So our poor mother, what she put up with, and then of course my brother, the payback once he became successful, and my father, who had thrown him out of the house because he wanted to be a drummer, was cut to a few years later where my brother's knocking on the door and he's got tickets to Europe and American Express dollars or something for
traveler's checks. Yeah.
Will you let me back in the house here? I'm sending you to Europe. I'm doing well. I'm making money. Please allow me back in. It was a cool, fun, and Harry McCarthy lived around the corner from us, around the corner. I've known Harry, I think probably since he was 4 or 5.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it's great you guys are all still tight. And, I know you guys, like you say, you talk probably every week or a few times a week. That's
I'm
great.
very tight with, we're like very close family. I believe I remember, and I think I remember pretty well. Harry, if he wasn't working at the cartage place, he was working for whatever that place was. And it might have been when he just was going to start his own company.
Yeah.
I took Harry up to Zildjian on La Cienega.
Oh, no kidding.
It was above like a Turkish carpet store, some store, Zildjian, and Steve Turpak, I think.
Yeah.
Turpak was kind of one of the guys. I think I remember him.
He was the one and only at that time. Yeah.
We walked out with bags and bags of cymbals. I think Harry ended up. I want to say he ended up with like 20 cymbals in a bag. I walked out with 20 cymbals, and this was kind of in the early days when he was starting to get into doing that thing. I believe, not for anything, but I connected him with Joe Testa when Joe became the guy. I think that like at Yamaha.
Yeah.
I think I put him in touch with. I think. I mean, if I didn't, sorry, Harry, but it's always advocating for Harry. In any way I could. To help, and we just do that for. We do that.
Yeah.
We would do that for each other.
Absolutely. And
I always tried
Harry,
to introduce him at the time where I was a little bit up there and Harry was doing a cartage thing. He
just coming up. Yeah.
Springsteen gig yet, which then, catapulted him up to, he should be in the Rock Hall of Fame.
He should be.
It should be, and it's kind of that Harry did 13 years with Max is a great thing and he's very deserving.
Yeah.
Please be on the show, be on John's show, blah, blah, blah. I've got nothing but love and admiration and respect,
me too. I love Max. I do.
Max,
I do.
He's
always been good.
That kind of world is a hard world to be in. And with Springsteen, that's like, there's not that many gigs like that. And there certainly weren't back then either, that
right.
Free. And I remember when I first moved to Manhattan, a girl I was going out with whose father worked for William Morris as an agent, she said, they're doing auditions for a guy named Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, wow. 75 probably. 74.
Yeah. 75 is when I moved into Manhattan. And I was playing with Arthur Hurley and Gottlieb. And I was like, are you kidding me? I have a gig. I'm not looking for a gig, but that gig, I think it's well known that was an ad in the Village Voice or something.
Yeah.
We put an ad out and people answered that ad, and I'm pretty sure Max might have been one of those guys. And and great, and look what that turned into. I mean, he got that gig, and it's just funny. I remember that, and I remember 6 months later, I opened the New York Times, the Sunday Times, and there was a big article about Bruce Springsteen that he was like the future of music. Like, you know what I mean? He hadn't even like broken it wide open yet, but
that record, Born to Run, was what did it for him.
He was on the precipice of, it was like a journalist thing, and they were looking at, again, business was very different back then. And they were like, I don't know what made that, how that happened, and I don't even know if Born to Run was out then. I don't even know if it was.
No, that was the record that Max joined the band on. So they were in the process of, they were about to record that record. Yeah. Max joined. That record that had the song Born to Run, which really, broke them out, and Jungle Land, that's a landmark record,
it's like it's like one of the top 10, if there is such a thing, like an unusual pop record, a record that broke because it starts, it stops, it's, you know what I mean? It has all the things you're not supposed to do in a record that the record company does not want you to do for a record that's going to be on the radio. Like
that's right.
That. So, anyway.
But that did it. Yeah, and I have to tell you, there are a few comments in here, just some funny stuff that Joanne is leaving some very funny comments. But one of the things she said initially, I'm at home, something like I'm home watching cable TV every night. And then she said, this year I'll be out every freaking night, which I think we all feel, after a year of lockdown. I think everybody's looking to just, after this year, I will be out every freaking night.
Yeah, let's hope.
Let's hope so. Somebody made a funny comment, Jerry. You'll like this. I think it was way back when Jeff Riley said something about the Oates brothers and the Marada brothers. And I was thinking about this myself, actually, that it would be kind of fun to, how they have Carmine Oates and Vinny Appice and Carmine Oates. Right. And you guys should maybe change your names. Like,
they're brothers and they pronounce their name differently.
Yeah, yeah,
I've heard this.
yeah. And you might want to think about that, like Jerry Marotta and Rick Marada or something, or I don't know. I'm gonna I'm gonna run that by Rick. I'm sure he's gonna love
Oh
it. He's gonna.
yeah, they'll crush. Well, Vinny is Vinny. He's a guitar. Is he a guitar player or drummer?
They're both drummers.
Oh, it's I don't even know what to say. Those guys will probably pound us into oblivion. I mean, but it would be interesting because we play different styles. And I will say this, and I'm sure my brother would agree. Vanilla Fudge, that was Carmine, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that record when that was like probably in the late '60s.
That's exactly.
Tim Bogart, Carmine, and it was white rock, but it had a bit of I want to say a little bit of like a slinky, like a funk groove to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. It was just I remember it. I remember that, and I can't remember who the guitar player was. But they were not Jimmy McCarty. Might have somebody like that. But they were. I don't know. I feel like they had this breakout record. They were. All of a sudden they were really. They became really popular. I don't know if it was in a top 40 kind of way, but
well, they covered "You Keep Me Hanging On." Remember they did a cover of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big, big record for them, and they opened for Led Zeppelin, I think, on Zeppelin's first U.S. tour, and that's story goes like Carmine helped John Bonham get his Ludwig endorsement, and there's some
similarities.
Yeah, some truth to that. So
like rocket, like simple, and then Carmine, I just remember he was working with Rod Stewart at one point.
Right.
He might have even co-written. Is he a co-writer on Do You Think I'm Sexy?
He sure is. Yeah.
Let's hope he's got his publishing.
I think he does. At this
point, it probably would go back to him, but that would have been a cash cow. Carmine.
I think also, I could be wrong about this. Definitely Do You Think I'm Sexy, but maybe even Hot Legs too, possibly.
Yeah, very possibly.
Yeah.
Very
he was on that. He played on that song, and he played in the town I used to live in, Situate. They do this annual Heritage Days weekend where they have live bands and all this stuff. And he played, I don't know how many years ago, 5 or so years ago. And I forget the band. I think it was a version of Vanilla Fudge, but it wasn't the original. And he played so great. And I remember I talked to him afterward. I went over and said hello, and he was playing a backline drum kit that the local music store provided, that he had. And this is the kit that like everybody used to have to play. And it was this kind of mid-level Sonar kit with the power toms, like square sized, so that the toms, in order to put them over the bass drum, they were kind of like up here, awful idea.
Oh yeah.
And
I know the ones.
You know what I'm talking about. And so Carmine, I could see him like in between songs, like trying to just adjust stuff and struggling and not struggling, but just trying to be comfortable. But he played so great, like his time, his groove, he's got great time. Yeah. And I talked to him afterward and I said, man, you sounded great. And he was funny. He went, you wouldn't believe what it was like trying to play those drums. And I said, no, I do believe it. I could tell. And I've seen other guys trying to play these drums, and it's not easy to get them in a playable position, but anyway. Yeah.
It's funny. Jim McGaffey, he's always like thinking of gigs, sending me stuff like, and I think that Heritage Day, is that what it is? They still do that, right?
They didn't last year, but they have been.
I mean, it's still going other than like COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. My band played there a few years ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think he was like, you got to try to get on that Heritage Day thing. It's an awesome gig, do it with your brother or with Reeling in the Years, the Steely Dan, whatever you want to call it, band. He said, you guys should look into that. Get on that show. Get on that.
It's a great idea, actually, Jerry. I'm guessing they're not doing it this year again.
Right.
But they probably will want to do it next year if things are going the way we think they're going to go, because it's an annual thing that's been happening for, I don't know how long now, but a long time. So people were really disappointed that they, weren't able to do it last year. Yeah, I could, and they changed the person that booked it for years was no longer doing it. Then one guy did it one year, and then he tragically passed away after that. And then they had like this committee that didn't seem to really know what they were doing, but I'll find out.
Yeah,
I'll find out.
I mean, it's just funny because I know that's one of the things that Jim he was talking about, that it's a cool thing and they get a lot of people and whatever.
Yeah. Winston Watson says you've been an important inspiration, especially on my group's newest record.
Thank you, Winston.
Yeah. He's a great guy, Winston. Yes.
To anybody who's out there watching and has anything to say, I actually, if you don't mind, can we take like a second?
Yeah.
And I got to see where the camera is. I just got this. I'm going to show something, and I'm sorry, John, I got to do this.
Okay. And Christine, your sister's watching, and she said Harry is great.
I'm gonna yeah, thanks. A lot of people don't know this about you, but they're gonna know it about you right now, is that in long before you even were working at a music store in Boston, people don't know you were, can you see this? You were a divine impersonator. That's John. That's Johnny D. I don't know if you can see it because of the glare. I'm trying to look.
Oh, I can see it.
Johnny D with his divine. For those of you who don't know who Divine is, she figured in heavily to the early John Waters days, like in Pink Flamingos. She was famous for eating poodle poop. Like in the movie, you could see the dog. There's no cutting or editing. Dog puts her hand under the dog's butt and poops in her hand and then eats it. And I actually think this. She might have autographed this for me. I know I had a couple conversations.
Oh my gosh!
But I'm sorry. I had to bring that up. I have a few things around as we move along. That I'm gonna present to the people out there. But I thought it was a good thing to get.
It was great.
Where you came from, and the fact that if anybody was worried about you back then, that there's no more, that those days are over. Your divine makeup and wig are all long gone.
But you're right. But if I chose to still have the wig and makeup, that would be okay too.
And that would be where you move. You get out in front of your band.
Yeah.
Start singing. By the way, that kit to your left, over your left shoulder.
This one
is that's 60s.
1970. Actually, I've learned it's the first year they did the stop sign badge. It's called Midnight Blue Pearl is the finish.
Yeah,
but it's
my first drum kit is that.
This one's 60s.
Yeah, same. Is it the same finish?
That's a black diamond pearl.
No, I think my first kit, which I have here at my studio, was that kit. It was in the 60s. It was like 60s, probably 67 or 68, and I put stickers on it like Tweety Bird and Elmer Fudd, and but big, like, and I don't want to take the stickers off. They've been on there since 1967 or 68. I don't know what it does to the value of the drums, whether it makes them more valuable or less valuable, but I'm never selling them because they're my first drum kit. And that my parents got me, I think we paid like $120 or something for them, bought them from a friend of mine in school, as they had them somehow.
They're Gretsch. It's an actual Gretsch kit.
It's a Gretsch.
Yeah, Gretsch round badge. Well, I'll tell you, Jerry, in terms of value, if you were to sell it to a Jerry Marotta fan, who's also a Looney Tunes fan,
Yeah.
you'd get big bucks. But I think anybody else, I don't know
I have
how
no
those.
idea, and I don't.
Yeah.
I don't ever. I have no interest in vintage drums. You're deep into it.
Yeah.
I don't really. I'm not. In fact, the vintage drums that I have, like some of the stuff that I have, snare drums and stuff, I never use them. Never.
Yeah. I know you use. I was
People
going to
come
say.
in to the studio, Dreamland here, and I've got a whole pile of snare drums. And like, wow, man, you got this like brass blah 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 from whatever it's from. I don't know. I just use whatever I use. I don't know. Between um I just use like generally stuff I got from Yamaha. And I don't know, a few, I don't know. I just pick up a drum, tune it. You got to know how to tune them, and
Yeah.
you got to know
Yeah.
how to hit them. And other than that, I mean, I played, all kinds of different drums, and you can just know how to tune them, and you know how to hit them. They're a lot of them. Generally they're gonna sound good.
That's right. And, it's funny. Andy was saying the same thing the other day. He said, I don't need a lot of drums. I got, they all sound good. And it's true, really. I mean, if you put the right heads on and you tune them right and you hit them right, then they're going to sound good. So,
Well, exactly. And then if I don't know if Andy talked about this, but in the article in the Drumhead magazine, he said, I had a studio apartment. I had one suitcase worth of belongings.
yeah.
He said, I never owned anything. I didn't own a house, an apartment, blah, blah, blah. I was always, I think I remember that, he was like, I always made sure that like I could just pack what I have up and move on for whatever reason and go. And so it makes total sense that he wouldn't have, like, if he came to my house and my studio and all the stuff I have there, or here to Dreamland where I am now, and everything that I have here, he would have to be taken, on a stretcher. They'd have to come and get him because it's like a complete clutter mess of drums and percussion. I've got stuff everywhere, in closets. Like I have in my studio at home, Jerry'sville, I have 3 kits set up, 3 different kinds of kits set up.
Yeah.
So when I do drum tracks there, I'm like already they're mic'd up and all ready to go, and I'm bouncing around depending on what it is. But it's like I look at this stuff and I'm like, oh my God, I can't breathe. I'm literally I have so much stuff. I want to make sure everybody knows none of it's worth anything. Okay, so don't think about coming over to my house when I'm not home and ransacking the place. Not worth anything.
Same with me, Jerry. These are all old drums. They're old, not worth anything. So don't get any ideas.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants the new stuff. But at some point, and maybe tomorrow or this weekend, we can talk about, I'm going to get some pointers on streaming because my band is supposed to do a live stream later late in April. And I haven't a clue. And I know you know how to do that. So you can at least point me in the direction.
There's various ways to do it. I know what we have going on here, where I've sort of set it up with lights and stuff to do it from Dreamland. Where's the studio that I'm running. But I'll let you know. Yeah, we can talk about that. And there's various ways to do it. And I'm trying to think of what we did. We did it live, but I think it was on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And then we created a link for people. We didn't charge, but people would make a donation. You and your wife made a very generous donation, and
your birthday.
I mean, you may know all about all of that, but that was we can talk about that.
We're actually getting paid for it, but we have to stream it ourselves. for this thing. So I'll tell you more about it when,
Well, I
we're,
would
when
love
we're
it.
offline.
You know, if it weren't for the fact that we have a band here in the studio for that was just like really unprecedented, that have rented the studio for 4 months, starting March 1st.
Mm.
There's a band called the Goo Goo Dolls, and
Of course.
they John Resnick, who's a super great guy, kind of lead singer, guitar player. He loves Dreamland, and he just wanted to come here. And
Mm.
you know, nowadays most people they rent the studio for a week or two, you know, not months at a time. So which has curtailed my live streaming because they have so much gear in
Yeah.
the studio that
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting on April 18th when we're going to do the next one, how we're going to have to fit ourselves around their stuff.
Their stuff. Yeah.
But
Wow.
anyway, yeah, we can talk about that for sure.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, so I wanted to, we started to talk about Peter Gabriel, and I probably